Date stamp 1693.6. Viking at Arms Goryul, reporting from the planet Okender Minor. Apologies for the tardiness of my initial report, but when we arrived at our assigned site several weeks ago, we found the scouting report to be inaccurate. Ha! Inaccurate is actually an understatement. If I ever come across that scout, one EnrAtoll, I swear I'm gonna bounce his skull off of his ship's nacelles until the white meat shows. Not only did he have the brass balls to name the site after himself, he didn't even bother to stay longer than a couple hours. If he had, then his report not only would have extolled the beauty of the atoll, but would have included at least a passing mention of the GD storms. Calling them firestorms is an understatement of the highest degree. They are more like walls of fire walking across the landscape. They are so thermally active that underwater flora and even fauna aren't safe from their scorching embrace. Our first encounter with one of these storms caught us completely by surprise and cost us several of our transport craft along with their crews and personnel. After the storm, our first step was to construct landing pads to the new specifications. Once this was done, I had covered walkways constructed that ran from the pads to the entirety of the reef circumference. Once we had some cover from the storms, morale was very low. So I decided our next project would be to make a hot tub of sorts, just off the reef. I can seriously say that there really is nothing like sitting in a hot tub during one of this planet's idyllic sunsets. But no one is crazy enough to stay in that hot tub when they see a wall of fire approaching. This gave morale a good boost, and everyone pitched in on getting our next project, a laboratory, built. As we designed the laboratory, we decided to build it without a door and make access through a protected teleporter so as to keep the interior as protected from the storms as possible. Several of the scientists in our party are very curious about how the local flora is able to burn with such intensity without being consumed. Once the fire goes out, the plant is just as it was before. They have built several self-contained thermal experimentation pods, complete with emergency purge buttons in case the fire shows signs of getting out of control. I have pretended not to notice the planters full of nip-nip on the roof. It helps to keep morale high. Our final, just finished project was a garage for the 3 exocraft we had brought with us. It was obvious our original plan of simply leaving them out in the open was a recipe for disaster. Most of the water around the atoll was very shallow, so we had to extend a walkway a fair distance to get to slightly deeper water. We had run out of glass for corridors, so one of the mechanics came up with a brilliant solution. They built massive versions of the hazard protection heaters found on derelict freighters, and we lined the walkway with them, spaced just close enough for their fields of effect to overlap. If a storm caught you exposed on the walkway, the heaters will keep it at bay long enough for you to get to shelter at either end of the walkway. We found that if we protected the mechanisms, power doors were an excellent way to keep the storms from wrecking the exocraft, so we used them to make garage doors for both the mech and the hover tank. With a submarine bay for the Nautilon. We have set up a couple ancillary research and record-keeping stations in the garage as well. We are now finally set up to start sending you data dumps of our research, albeit much later than we had originally anticipated. First data dump is attached to this message. I will report back weekly on our progress. Date stamp 1694.3. The past week has been uneventful, until today, of course. Several scientists and a mechanic took out the backup Nautilon to search the ocean floor in an attempt to find a deep enough trench to build a good-sized underwater farm. This was 12 hours ago. The last anyone heard from them was 8 hours ago, when they reported placing their third directional marker and mentioned a nearby crevice that they were going to investigate. I'm going to take out the main Nautilon and follow their directional markers and see if I can determine what happened to them. I'll leave my recorder on so you could see what I see. Here is the third marker. Now, where is that crevice? There it is, heading in. Tight quarters in here. The first two tunnels I check both dead end quickly, so I head down the third and final tunnel. Looks to be another dead end. Wait a minute. By the blood of Herc, look at how these caverns open up! And over there, another directional marker. These caverns just keep going and going! Hold on. What's that ahead? What in the name of Herc am I looking at? I've never seen anything like this before. I'll leave my Nautilon back a bit and continue on in my exosuit. It's pulsing like a heartbeat. What can it be? Huh, there's the backup Nautilon. But it's empty. No sign of my missing crew members. I've got to get out of here and warn the others. We need to figure out what this is and what it is doing here. I'm afraid of the answers we're going to find. The minute you get this, send reinforcements immediately.